Bam, bam, bam. It's time for another incredible episode of Bam. Hello, everybody. I'm Tony King. This is I don't even know what number time I'm hosting this, but I am so excited to be here with you all. I'm the Vice President of U.S. Growth, one of the three-headed monsters that we call our Vice Presidents of U.S. Growth here at eXp. And I'm so excited about this one. Why am I so excited? Very simply, this is the last episode that I get an opportunity to chat with you online virtually before I see you all in person at eXpCON. So this is going to be super exciting, a lot of energy. And do we have some bombs for you? You already know we got Bryon dropping the Bryon bombs. He's coming to do that. He does it every day. But we also have Elicia coming to chat with us. She's going to be kicking it, talking about some incredible things she's doing in her business to help you grow your business. But before we get to that, we got my man Ian Wheatley. He runs our KGCI. Did y'all know that EXP has its own like 24/7 radio, podcast, educational, YouTube? Like we are dropping knowledge 24 hours a day. 7 days a week for y'all. It is absolutely incredible. We did this a few months ago, so we have Ian to come and talk about the amazing and incredible success that we have been having with this. Our agents are eating it up, and he's going to talk about some of that success. So if you haven't been a part of it, that's what he's going to be telling us. So before let's jump right into it because we got so much to get to today. Can we bring Ian up? Is Ian in there? Hey, there's Ian. There's Ian, bright shining face. You already know him.
Tony.
You already smooth, his silky voice on KGCI. But now you get to actually see his face. He gets to come and share some stuff with us. What's up, Ian?
Hey, yeah, I'm happy to be here. It's always a lot of fun coming in and checking in with the growth guys over at BAM. How are you doing, Tony?
I am outstanding, man. I'm jazzed. I'm excited. I'm through the roof. I'm excited about eXpCON coming up. That's what I can't wait for.
Dude, it's gonna be exciting. So we I don't know how it happened. But it happened. We are going to be there, KGCI Real Estate on Air. We're going to be actually doing some live broadcasts from eXpCON in Miami. So if you're going to be there, come say hi. Again, another thing that's just like, radio magic, right, is we have this can't miss it broadcast booth. So if you're going into general session, right, you got to walk past this literal broadcast booth that's going to be set up right there. So you can't miss us. And, I realize that not everybody's going to be out at eXpCON in Miami. So if you're not able to make it, think KGCI Real Estate on Air is your connection to Miami. I'll be catching up with nearly all the award winners. I'll be catching up with some of EXP's leaders as they pop in and pop by. And many of our KGCI Real Estate on Air hosts, they are at this year's event. And what's exciting because, we have some EXP Realty's best and brightest agents on our airwaves 24/7, 365, is that a lot of them are actually going to be doing presentations on that general session stage, but they're also going to be doing breakouts. And we'll have each and every one of them on to share exactly what you're missing out on by not being at eXpCON in Miami coming up in a little more than a week.
That's absolutely incredible, Ian. And what you all have done in such a short period of time, because this KGCI has only launched like 4 or 5 months ago. How long ago did y'all?
It's funny. We've been on the air for little more than 6 months at this point.
Has it been that long? Wow. Yeah. And let's talk a little bit about the successes. I mean, I know because I can sort of see some of the back end numbers and what's going on, but yeah. I want to just sort of broadcast it out there, how popular this has been across all the platforms. So can you give a little bit of knowledge and detail on that?
Yeah, sure. I mean, I think to say the agents whom we've impacted in a big way. And It's tens of thousands of them at this point that are checking in on that. Always free, right? You pay nothing. It's always free, 24/7, 365, that radio stream at realestateonair.fm. We've impacted tens of thousands of agents there. We have a lot of strong listenership, primarily across the United States and Canada. We've seen some recent strides internationally, globally, from our hosts. That's been driven, I think, by a lot of our hosts that we have in Australia and in Africa. One thing that certainly I've learned is that, real estate business building principles, the sound real estate business building principles, those things transcend borders. That's been one of my big takeaways from KGCI Real Estate on Air. And it's also, interesting even hearing some of the insights from agents from countries where they don't necessarily have co-brokerage compensation in the same way that we do in North America, which is very interesting, right? You get to learn a lot. And I think a lot of the agents started coming our way because they saw how we were responding to the NAR settlement and how we were helping agents get ready for that deadline. And a lot of them have stuck around since. We did recently blow past 50,000 podcast downloads of our content. And
50, whoa.
Yeah,
See, now
50.
you're doing what Bryon does. You got to let some stuff breathe, man. When you don't just drop a number like 50,000 downloads and just keep talking, right?
Sorry.
50,000, that's a bomb. 50,000
That's
downloads.
50, yeah. 50,000 podcast downloads.
And that's across all the platforms, or is that like just Spotify, or like how's that broken down?
All platforms across.
Wow.
Yeah. So, you can subscribe literally to KGCI. I have this thing everywhere anybody could possibly listen to a podcast at this point. And if you somehow are listening to a podcast somewhere that you can't search up KGCI, you need to let me know so I can get it over there. Number one.
Yeah.
But yeah, we are literally everywhere you listen to podcasts.
That is awesome, Ian. And to a hammer, everything looks like a nail, right? So I'm VP of growth. Everything looks like growth to me. So, the cool thing is that if you're not using, because this is not only for EXP agents, right? So there's no Okta login or like no,
Right.
sort of barrier to entry only for EXP agents. This is for the entire agent population. So I've seen and heard so many of our top producing or top attracting agents using this as sort of that mutual sort of peace offering to other agents in the marketplace to start those conversations about attraction and let them sample some of the goodness that we have over here with EXP University and the EXP training and all of the stuff that we have over here. This is just a free sample, right? And you can just shoot a text to someone with the link to the Spotify or to a podcast or to whatever. And that's how you can start that conversation about them coming to EXP.
It is an amazing tool. If agents want to use this for recruitment, right? For agent attraction, for even just basic, hey, I'm in a market and I want to build a team, right? You could use KGCI Real Estate on Air. You could pick any number of the 50 plus podcast hosts that we have on our air, streaming 24/7, 365. You could pick any one of them and you could listen to the station for an hour and you could have a mastermind based on what you heard on this radio station. You could even dive deep into our Friday Focus, right? So if you follow along with what we do with our Friday Focus, it's where I blow the doors off. We go wall to wall on one of the main topics that an agent needs to be successful in their business, right? Last week, it was AI tools, right? This week, it's all about mastering client relationships. Think along the same lines of developing and creating clients for life, right? Nowhere else are you going to get 6 free hours on mastering client relationships other than on KGCI Real Estate on Air. It doesn't exist.
That's huge. And, for those folks outside, whether you're within EXP or certainly if it's outside EXP, for a team leader, for any sort of leader of an organization of agents, they could sort of stream that. Like you make a watch party, bring everyone in and sort of do that. Or you can marry those two things together, right? You talked about AI. If it was me, right, and I was doing something like that, right, I could grab that transcript. I could put it through ChatGPT, have it put together an outline for my course that I could run through and then just sort of rock and roll and everyone think that I was smart, which would be great for a change.
You're pretty, here's the thing, Tony. You don't get to be a vice president if you're not smart, okay?
Okay, cool. I'll take it.
It. Just let you know. Don't put yourself down, Tony.
Love it. Well, okay. So we talked about eXpCON a little bit, but that's like a week and a half away still. So what do we got coming up like between now and eXpCON? Because this is 24/7, right? So like y'all keep it rocking. What do you got going here in the near future?
I mentioned, so we're literally right now, if you tuned into KGCI Real Estate on Air at realestateonair.fm, what you're going to hear is our conversation, right? So the big agent meeting starts our curated day every Friday. And then we roll into the Friday Focus. And so I mentioned that we're dealing with client relationship mastery. So we're helping agents develop those clients for life, how they can leverage their sphere, how to leverage their database to grow their business. All right. So that's this week's Friday Focus immediately following the big agent meeting on KGCI Real Estate on Air. Next week, what we got going on is we're doing time block management. I think it was Ben Franklin who said that if you fail to plan, you plan to fail. Something quite like that. I think I got it a little off. But that's something that, for example, I know when I was a new agent, time blocking was something that I struggled with. I know as an established agent with a 7-year-old and a 4-year-old and a real estate radio station to run, time blocking is the only reason that this exists. Okay, right. So that's what we got. That's kind of what that's what we got going on our Friday focuses. The other thing I'd mention is we do this Mindset and Motivation Monday, and it's at the start of the week. So we have these features at the bookend of the week. Monday, Friday, okay? So start your week with KGCI, end it with KGCI, and I promise you your business will improve. Because we have this Mindset and Motivation Monday, and agents have really been taken to this over the past month or so. And this is where we hit a lot on the those core skills, right? Not necessarily those hard skills, but those core skills that you get to get plugged into your business, so that way you can also make the most out of your business, make the most out of life. We get you into the present and not depressed about the past, anxious about the future, which I know a lot of agents struggle with that. And so the Mindset Motivation Monday is, I think, a big thing that if agents haven't checked out KGCI yet, I would start this Monday checking out our Mindset Motivation Monday because we got a couple big stars on there, Gogo Bethke, Aaron Hendon, Jessica Nieto. They have Gogopreneur, The Mindful CEO, and The Revealed podcast, respectively. And those are 3 awesome podcasts where there are conversations that happen there that help you understand how your mind works, help you understand how the billionaire's mind works, and how you can overcome some of those deep-seated limiting beliefs. And here's some absolute titans talk from inside and outside of real estate. So that Mindset Motivation Monday is fastly becoming one of the big drivers of listening over at KGCI Real Estate on Air, and I'd encourage everyone to check that out.
That's awesome, Ian. And so sort of on that thread, because again, this is the 24/7 thing, and I know that you can't play favorites, right? or you wouldn't want to, but can you give me just a few of your favorites? I know they're all your favorites, right? But can you give us just a few more of your favorites? Because we know folks that, hey, I need to check in, or are they able to sort of favorite or follow if they're on Spotify or whatever it is? Which ones do they need to subscribe to, like now, like today?
Yeah, so my son and my daughter, right? They both know that one is my favorite son and my other is my favorite daughter, right?
Make it easy. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. I know I'm an investor at heart, right? That's how I started in real estate before getting into production. I saw production as a means of generating capital for future real estate investments. So along that same line, Uncommon Real Estate by Chris Craddock, Investor Agent Nation by Randy Zimnock, and the Acabo Home Financial Freedom Mastermind by Nii Adewale. Those are like my investor brain must listens. Shelby Johnson, she just wrapped up a real long stint over at Real Estate Rock Stars. And that's been a podcast that I've listened to on and off for what feels like almost 5 years now. I thought she killed it. So I've used podcasts like from Nolly Williams and Lars Hedenborg to actually implement improvements into my own business.
So let's break that down.
Motivation Monday.
Let's break that into a little bit as well, because sometimes people use podcasts as like an excuse not to do anything, right? So when they hear like, hey, there's a 24/7 podcast channel, and they sit there and just sort of soak, but never put any of it into action, right? Which is kind of the whole point in the whole thing. Otherwise, you're just wasting your time. So that said, have you, because you're in production and you still do investments, have you personally implemented any of the strategies that you were soaking up from these podcasts? And if so, what does that look like in your business?
Yeah, so Nolly Williams likes this story. So we were gearing up for launch. So we hadn't quite launched the radio station yet. So I was listening pretty heavy to Success with Listings. And I was pretty heavy on the buy side, right? And I had been listening to a lot of Success with Listings. And I had just taken like 2 nuggets on how to better leverage my database and my sphere, because when you're primarily working with buyers, you have that, those are the 2 primary legs of your 2-leg stool, right? You don't necessarily have a geographic farm, but you typically got those two. And so I just implemented what I had heard Nolly say on KGCI Real Estate on Air. And I had 2 listings inside of a week and a half that I otherwise would not have had.
Wow.
So that was February. We fast forward to today. My wife, she's literally downstairs as we're doing this. She's doing her pre-licensing because the Wheatleys need to scale. And, Lars Hedenborg, the Real Estate Business Builders podcast, it's awesome at dealing with scaling, building a real estate business. And, if I'm thinking about 2025 and I'm really thinking about how do I get that Geo farm, well, I got a bunch of Shelby Johnson and a Kayla Lindsay, and I can get that 2025 version of that Geo farm going. So, yeah, man, we've got dozens and dozens and dozens of hosts that are literally just giving away all the answers to your real estate business questions. And it is truly, truly amazing. And if you haven't checked it out yet, it's realestateonair.fm.
That's awesome. And of course, the next question is how much does it all cost, right? I mean, it's got to be, when you mention Nolly, and by the way, his name is not Nolly. It's actually McGraw-Hill best-selling author, the EXP National Trainer of the Year, Nolly Williams, Esquire Incorporated, actually. So we love Nolly. We love us some Nolly Williams around here. So, but that said, I think that that sort of is the next piece of this conversation. So
it is always free.
Free? Like $3.99?
Always free.
Always free. Always free. And again, this is not just for EXP. This is also for every agent that's out there. So please utilize this as a part of your attraction efforts. And speaking of attraction, kind of circling back to where we started, eXpCON is coming up, y'all. eXpCON. Do we got that flyer, Randy? Can we pull that flyer up again for eXpCON? Because again, y'all know, again, to a hammer, everything's a nail. By the way, and I've heard Leo say this from the stage, so I'm going to quote it. eXpCON is the number one converting thing that we do at EXP. The number one converting attraction effort, the number one thing that you can do to recruit someone to EXP is get them to eXpCON, get them to the Explorer Room. Our conversion rate in that Explorer Room is like 70 or 80%. It's crazy. So if you have someone, and I'm still seeing that there are a lot of agents that we have that have unused Explorer passes, right? Free. It's free, y'all. You can bring someone to eXpCON for free, and 70% of the people that you bring will convert. My gosh, what more could you ask for? You get their bottom in this chair. They're 70% likely to convert. And that if it's an empty chair, that empty chair is 0% likely to convert. Right. So get their bottom in that chair at eXpCON. We just have the link up there. Scan that. It's not too late. It's not too late. I tell a story of a young man named Brent Gove that just found out about eXpCON like 2 days before the eXpCON. He went there and then signed up, and then now look what happens, right? So it's not too late. Don't wait. Reach out to anyone that you're working on, any of your prospects, anyone that you talked about. Heck, start with the KCGI as the conversation starter. Let them know if they got value out of it. KGCI is going to be at eXpCON along with so many of the other podcast hosts, so many other speakers, so much value they're going to get from there. Sell them on that experience, get them there, and then bring them to the Explorer Lounge. I'll be in the Explorer Lounge. The entire growth team will be in the Explorer Lounge. And hey, you might even see some C-suite executives walking around the Explorer Lounge as well, able, willing, and excited to talk to your prospects and help bring them to EXP. Again, nothing else you can do that has a 70-80% conversion rate besides getting them to eXpCON. So enough about eXpCON. Thank you so much, Ian. My gosh, I'm sure you got work to do. Like you're running a 24/7 radio show. You got kids. You're still in production, ma'am. You better use that time blocking, right? I think you're up against your time block right now.
You better believe it. But I tie blocked for you, Tony. So it's all
I
good.
appreciate that. I appreciate that, brother. I appreciate that. So Ian Wheatley, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much, Ian. Always a pleasure to have a chance to chat with you and keep doing the good work, fighting the good fight over there on KGCI.
Appreciate you, brother. Thanks.
Love it. Next up, we're not done, right? That we dropped some fire, we dropped some bombs. But next up, we were dropping the bomb of all bombs, right? We got Bryon to come and drop some Bryon bombs on us. So with our university spotlight, to include a few Bryon bombs, as always, Mr. Bryon Ellington, our Chief Learning Officer, is in the house. What's up, Bryon?
How you doing, Tony?
I am outstanding. I'm outstanding. Thanks for asking.
Same, man. Same. Any better than they'd arrest me.
That's it.
Hey, I got something for you today that I think you'll actually really appreciate.
Lay it on me.
So
Lay it on me.
this is Jenny Rometty, and what she said is growth and comfort do not coexist. Growth and comfort
Wow.
do not coexist. It's interesting. We have this modern day definition, thanks to Sandra Bullock, I think, of insanity, right? Which is doing the same thing over and over and expecting different results. And so the question is, what are you going to do differently? And even more important, how do you know how to do that at the highest level possible? And if you don't have an answer to that, I'd like to apply for the job of helping you with that answer with some of the things that we have upcoming. And you mentioned eXpCON. Holy cow, 100 breakout sessions. We've got Renee Rodriguez, best-selling author, Amplify Your Influence. He's going to be there. He's going to speak from the main stage, but then he's also doing a session and also doing a mastermind on that Wednesday. Brandon Brittingham, who just joined us, top team in Maryland, like the top team in Maryland.
Top two, and he's not number 2, right? So
that's right. And he anybody who knows the real estate investment community knows Brandon from the boardroom group that he helped start and some other things that he's part of. He's going to be doing sessions and a mastermind on investing, both working with investors and also becoming an investor yourself as a real estate agent. And that's going to be that Wednesday as well. That's going to be a crazy, crazy event. I'm like super, now that we've gotten all the speakers and panelists and everybody, all those cats herded, I'm super excited. Now I'm super excited, but it's going to be a fantastic event. Also too, I want to say mentors and mentees on this call. If your mentor is not on this call, reach out to them, make sure they know about this. Mentors in the mentor workplace group, also in your inbox, we invited you to a new mentor playbook pilot that we're doing just for mentors. We're going to do that session at eXpCON. Mentors, if you're not going to eXpCON, that's okay. We're also going to simulcast that session out via Workplace. If you go to the Mentor Workplace group, you'll see the registration link for all of that. On Monday, mentors and mentees, on Monday, we are giving mentors early access to the November 6th Fast Cap registration. That seems to be like every question in my Workplace chat group right now seems to be, when is that going to come? Mentors, you're getting early access on Monday to that. So get your mentees in, because that's going to fill up. It is. It's just going to fill up really quick. I'm hoping it doesn't fill up before we get to eXpCON so we can give the folks there a chance to register, but it is going to fill up quick. Hey, also too, from the university this week coming up, Monday is Level Up with Christy Jenks. She's going to be talking about, there she is, from busy to efficient. I love that, from busy to efficient. She's going to be talking about productivity hacks. On Thursday of next week, we have the wonderful Wendy Forsyth, our new Chief Marketing Officer. She's going to be doing a session on the 3 strategies to master today's market, and talking about how you can really get your MBA in real estate by just doing a few simple strategies that she's going to share with you. Next week, this time on the Big Agent Meeting, we have Katrina Amaral. If you don't know her, she's one of the top EXP teams, I think like top 5. And she is going to do a masterclass on getting referrals. I'm super excited about that. And then I am dropping a new lab next week with your bud, Russ Lagan, and we're talking all things attraction. Yeah, there you go.
I love it. I love it.
And that's going to drop next Friday at 3 p.m. Eastern. So look for that as well. So today, Tony, I've got a fellow Texan on the call with us today.
Of course. All the good stuff comes out of Texas. You know that.
Yeah, my friend Elicia Michaud. Elicia, can you? Yeah, there she is. Hey, Elicia, how you doing?
Hey, I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing great. All right, Tony, we'll come back in just a few, okay?
I'm looking forward to it.
Thank you, man. So, Elicia Michaud, you are a fellow Austinite here in Austin, Texas, and you are Ms. Steiner Ranch. And so we wanted to bring you on to pick your brain, get your wisdom about how we can do geographic farming at the highest level possible. Before we jump into all that, though, do you want to share a little bit about your background and how you got to where you are today?
Sure. I have been in real estate for almost 24 years now, so more than half my life. I started in Southern California right out of college. I had a little farm there and came out to Austin to look at some investment properties in 2005. And then by 2006, decided I wanted to move here to Texas and moved here in December of 2006, 6 months pregnant with twins and not knowing anybody in the entire city. So that's how I got here, but that's also how I got into farming. I realized I needed to do something to kickstart my transition to Texas real estate and do it pretty quickly.
Yeah. Now, I know your team works a lot with expireds and other forms of lead generation, but you've really built a substantial farm for yourself. You said something interesting when we were chatting that goes against conventional wisdom, right? Conventional wisdom would say, if you want to pick a farm, go to the MLS, figure out, a farm that has a combination of the number of homes, the number of turnover percentage, and the average sales price, and therefore commission rate that you would need to hit your goals, right? That would be the formulaic approach to picking a farm. But you said something different. You want to share your thoughts on that?
I think if you're going to be authentic in this business and build long-term relationships in your farm, you really need to choose your farm based on what it is that you truly love and identify with. So for some people, that might be where you already live. I understand not everybody is already in their dream location or where they are going to be staying for the long term, but I think it really needs to be somewhere that either you want to be, you love, you're already associated with. Otherwise, you're going to be having these conversations with people and they're just not going to be authentic about why you love the neighborhood, how you can sell the neighborhood, and creating long-term relationships with people that live in that area.
Yeah, I like the way you phrased it the other day. You said your farm picks you.
Correct.
And I like the idea about being passionate about it. And being in an area that you live, you're naturally going to understand the goings ons around it. I live out in Dripping Springs area, right? And when I moved out here in 2010, one of the big topics was we're getting an H-E-B. For those of you not in Texas, that's a big grocery store. And where I live, there was nothing. You were driving 20 minutes, 25 minutes into the city to go get your groceries. Knowing things like that or coming and being able to share that as part of the value that you can bring to a farm. So I really like that approach. Now, and you and I were talking, you're on your third home there in Steiner Ranch. There's a lot of other communities you could live at in Austin, but you really are kind of practicing what you preach.
Right.
You talked about moving here with your twins, and when you and I were chatting, you shared kind of how you use that kind of authenticness going on in your life to blend into your business. Do you want to tell them about Moms of Multiples?
Yeah, so I was pregnant with them when I moved here, and very pregnant with them. It was the last 3 months
twins, I can imagine.
of a crazy pregnancy. So, I wasn't really out meeting a lot of people, and I needed to start meeting people. I needed to start making relationships and, getting things started. So I started a Moms of Multiples group. I think I just registered a domain name, Steiner Moms of Multiples, and just made a little blog about it. And there's a surprisingly high number of multiples or parents of multiples here in the neighborhood. And I started just doing events like, oh, we're meeting at the ice cream shop, and I'd have 20, 25 moms and their kids showing up to those groups. So that was how I got my start meeting people within the neighborhood. And I think I shared with you also, it's kind of cool. My twins are seniors in high school now, and looking back on the number of transactions I've done, that group kind of fell by the wayside once we all started getting busy and kids in school and stuff like that. But the relationships I have, I've probably sold 100 houses from starting that little group back in 2007. And the number of those parents who have already called me because they're going to be selling or downsizing or something when our kids graduate in a couple of months is kind of crazy to look back and attribute it all to just that little blog that I started.
It's really smart. I mean, when I think about that, Steiner Ranch is a nicer neighborhood here in Austin, multiple bedrooms in the neighborhood. So it makes sense. There's going to be a lot of families there, right? And then also too, on the backside, if you plan on being in this business long term, you are going to get downsizing folks when the kids go away to college and things like that. So a lot of opportunity in that kind of group. And that's not the only group you started. You actually started a BMI group. Could you share a little bit about how you started that and who all was involved in that?
Yeah, so BNI, it's a lot bigger today than it was back in 2007. There really weren't that many groups in Austin. I want to say maybe there were 3. And I heard about it several times in a week. And it's a group that there's only one person per profession allowed in the group, and you meet weekly. And basically the point of the group is to educate all of the members of the group on how to go out into the world and be like your raving fan. So every week you give a 1-minute presentation to train your sales team as they're out and about how they can best give you referrals. And when we started that group, you had to have 20 people to start the group. And again, I didn't know anybody here. So I went to the local coffee shop and grabbed everybody's cards and just started calling everybody and said, hey, do you want to start this group? And I was in that group for 11 years. We had hundreds and hundreds of businesses that either visited or were members of that chapter over those 11 years. And a lot of the businesses that started in that group were getting started like me, and they are massive players now, and they attribute it all to starting in that group. So we have a moving company that started out in there that was 2 guys in a truck at the time, and now they're franchised. We have another flooring company, same thing. They're now franchised in multi-states. So it's been amazing to see the relationships that have continued to blossom. And I think our group was a little bit unique in that other networking groups in the city were not as geographically focused. And this one, almost everybody lived also in the neighborhood. So it's been amazing because we all still see each other. Our kids all are growing up together. And so even beyond us all being in that group, those relationships are still there and very strong, and still getting referrals from it.
And really smart. I don't know how purposeful you were in the 20 people that you invited into that BNI group, but I mean, Square Cow Movers, it used to be two men in a truck, and then the carpet. Now, what you're going to get there are people coming in from out of state referrals with the moving company. With the carpet now, you're going to find out that people are upgrading to sell and things of that nature. So very smart choices in who you had in that group. And I love the fact that that you started that and ran that for so many years. But so those are the kinds of networking groups that you've done there in Steiner Ranch. But you also took over a number of things. First, the back page of the newsletter. Has that been a meaningful impact in your business?
For sure. So we used to have a pretty big neighborhood newsletter that would go out every month. And there was another real estate agent on the back page of that. The front page is always, a design, but the back page is pretty powerful. That's where the address is. And that realtor's husband was in my BNI group. And when she had her second child and was stepping back from real estate, I got offered the back page of that magazine. And that was massive in exploding my business at that time. I was on the back of that for probably 10 years, and I haven't been on it in 3 years. And I still have people to this day. I got a $2.2 million listing last year. And I asked them when I got there, oh, hey, where did you get my name? I'd love to, thank the referral or whatever. And they said, oh, you were just on the back of that newsletter for so long. Which then ties into the brand that I also built, which was SteinerRanchInfo.com. So they may not have remembered my name specifically from the back of there, but they did remember the brand that I built and marketed on the back page of their Steiner Ranch Info. And they said I was the first person that they called. So it was pretty amazing opportunity to get that back page.
Yeah, and I like the fact that you take the approach of hitting in multiple different angles and feeding one to another. You and I talked about your blog. I thought it was a really interesting story how you got the blog. Can you share about how you were using that and maybe the story of how you got it too?
Yeah, so I think it was 2012. I got a call from a guy who had a little blog, just a very basic WordPress blog that he'd been blogging at the time for maybe 5 or 6 years about Steiner stuff. And it was called Steiner Ranch Info. And he was taking a job with Apple and moving up to Cupertino. And he interviewed quite a few agents. And he said, whoever sells my house, I will give them this blog. And they wanted a discount on the listing. And a lot of the people that interviewed for it, someone who had been farming pretty extensively in Steiner Ranch just didn't even see the value of it. And I immediately knew I wanted to jump on that because I wanted to capitalize on that brand and capitalize also on the organic search placement they had from having been blogging already for so many years. So I sold that listing. I took over the Steiner Ranch Info blog. Since then, I have redone that website into something much, much bigger and more detailed. And Steiner Ranch Info then became my brand.
Yeah. And am I right in remembering that you have the newsletter where you've got the 5,000 subs, and that ties in with that blog? Is that right?
Yes. So I think it's important to understand that a lot of the stuff that I do farming is different from what other people think about when they think about farming. The first question I always get is, what postcards do you send? I don't send postcards. I don't do any print anymore. The only print I ever did was that back page of the newsletter, which I don't do anymore. The blog now has the real estate component where I have all the listings. I track everything that I've sold in Steiner Ranch in there, but I also have a stats page because I'm a very stats brain person. And I send out a monthly newsletter that has the stats, that also has my market analysis, usually an event that's going on in Steiner Ranch, but it's mostly very stats and real estate heavy on that newsletter. But one of the things that I make sure to do in that newsletter is to make everything in it clickable back onto Steiner Ranch Info for the sole purpose of being able to retarget people who click on that website. So the blog is still in existence. I don't blog as much as I probably should anymore because I'm just so much busier. But that website has kind of taken on different roles throughout the year. But the main thing that I use it for is obviously advertising of Steiner Ranch and capturing people from that, but using it as a tool via other avenues, be it Facebook, ads, newsletter, to get people to click back on it so that I can retarget them.
Yeah, and I think that's really smart. And you talked about knowing your audience, and for you, that audience in Steiner Ranch is who?
So Austin in general is a very techie type city. So we have a lot of engineers in this area, and we have a pretty high concentration of them here in Steiner Ranch. We have a lot of Dell executives, just executives from a lot of tech companies. And so there are a lot of engineer brain type people in this neighborhood. And that's exactly how my mind works. So, I think people always say, be yourself and attract your vibe attracts your tribe. So my vibe is very nerdy, very stats, very analytical. And so I think I've been very, very successful with publishing those stats and publishing my analysis every month and having kind of that interactive section on my website where people can track those. It's pretty cool. I have people call me all the time, and I've never talked to them before. I've never met them, and they just say, yeah, I've been following your stats for years, and now we're ready to sell our $3 million house. So can you just come over and list it? And there's not even much of a conversation after that because they know that I understand the market so well. I'm just the only person they call.
Yeah. And I think when we were at dinner at the Inman thing, I think it was you that told me about the ABOR new stats that they're putting out. Are you using that? Or are you coming up with your own? How do you get yours?
Well, it's funny because when that came out, I just was like, holy cow, this is so amazing. And my first thought was, oh gosh, this is going to level the playing field for all those agents that haven't been tracking their own stats and stuff like that. But I track my own, and I will always continue to track my own on that Steiner website. I think the ones that came out on ABOR they're more intricate. They're stats that I don't even think that we have the capability to track on our own. One of my favorite ones that I have been using is the price reduction tracker on there. So I guess the short answer is I'm using both, and I will always continue to do my own stats. I also think it's important for me to personally run those stats every month myself because it helps me internalize those numbers and internalize that understanding for myself so that when I'm having conversations constantly, I just know it instead of, oh, I just went on ABOR and looked at it.
Yeah. And if you're not the mathematically minded agent, title reps, your local board, there's a ton of resources where you're going to be able to find the stats that you would want to use anyways. And you and I, what it was so impressive too is you talked about becoming the definitive expert on Steiner Ranch. And immediately you started rattling off, there's 54 plans, there's 43 sections, there's in all the things. How did you get that level of knowledge about Steiner Ranch? Did that just happen over time, or were there things that you did that were more purposeful about going and finding those types of information?
I think it's a combination of both. I mean, I dedicate time every day to watching everything that's going on in Steiner Ranch. I mean, I'm checking the hot sheet constantly. I'm digging into every one of those sales. I do have a little bit of a maybe photographic memory when it comes to seeing things. It's interesting. I actually figured out a fraud that happened a couple of years in Steiner because I had just been watching the sales and watching who was buying and just thought some things didn't add up. And so I'm always looking who's buying, who's moving, why are they buying? I see every listing that comes on the market. I'm just internalizing the data. And I think, I've lived here for 17 years now, and just going to every listing and just studying and remembering, you become that expert.
Yeah. And if you have not lived in your area, in Fast Cap, one of the things we have agents do is go preview a home a day, right? And then do a CMA a day as well. And then that is the surest fire way to really get to know the inventory in your geographic farm. So I was curious because, you've got this huge database, right? And obviously a lot of that built up over time as you had people become clients and things like that. But you did cold calling in the beginning all right, not door knocking though, but cold calling. You want to talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, not necessarily cold calling, but more circle prospecting, where, if we have a new listing, we're going to call everybody around it. If we're looking for a buyer, we're going to call everybody around it. If we don't have either one of those, we're going to call everybody around maybe a recent sale or, just sharing some information about something in the neighborhood. And that was one of the many ways that I built up my database and just got started with creating relationships and opportunities with people on the phone.
Yeah, it's the smartest way to do it because you've got something to talk about, the listing, the open house, and things like that. You and I talked about community events, and you said something interesting. You said, I only sponsor things that I could be at. Can you share a little bit about the kinds of things that you would sponsor and then how you would take advantage of that opportunity?
Yeah, so I'm pretty introverted and not the best at entertaining. I always say I'll come to anything you invite me to, but I'm probably not going to invite you over to my house because it just gives me the hives, even thinking about doing stuff like that. So, how I'm out there in the community, if I can't come to the event and physically be there and be talking to people and have I don't just want my logo up there. I want people to associate that with me and who I am and speak to me and know that I'm a member of the community. So, we have a lot of community events in Steiner. We have like a concert in the park. We have a swim team. We have obviously all of the high school sports and things like that. So, when my twins were graduating from 8th grade, they did a big party at the end. I was like, okay, yeah, I'll definitely sponsor that because I can be there. People know who my kids are. People can associate that. I have 2 sons who are athletes in basketball, football, stuff like that. I'm always sponsoring those teams. But even after my son decided to focus on football, wasn't on basketball anymore, I was still a basketball sponsor. So I'd be there at the games every week. And my logos were on the back of the shirts that they would throw out. And, but I'd make sure I was there. So people know, okay, so this is Elicia. She's sponsoring the team. Also, she's here cheering for the team. Also, her son, Jack, was on the team, stuff like that. So, people that just call me and they're like, hey, do you want to throw your logo on here for $1,000? I'm not going to do that. I don't find that as effective as when I can physically be involved in something.
Yeah, and it gives you that opportunity to connect with people, get them into your database, bring value to them so that when they are ready, they'll think of you. Parting advice for folks. Let's say that you had to leave Steiner Ranch and go to a different neighborhood, maybe even a different town. What's the first thing you'd do to restart a farm in a new place?
I think I'd build a website. My little farm that I had in California, my condo complex, I had a very basic website there. It had all the floor plans. It had just all the information that I could find about it. I think it's even easier now to do things with SEO or even paid stuff. From there, I'd start a Facebook group. Number one thing that blows me away that people don't do is they don't start a Google business page. I mean, you need to start a Google business page tied to that section with an address there, and make sure your website and everything is targeted to there. Then I'd build a brand. All of those things that I just mentioned, you can do very, very low cost as you're getting started until you start making some more money. But yeah, I build that brand, build the website, Google, Facebook, Instagram, all the free stuff you can do. And then I'd be out in the community meeting as many people as I can.
I love that advice. A lot of people might talk themselves out of something like that, saying, my neighborhood already has a page. My neighborhood has a page, and it is the most unorganized website that I've ever seen. Trying to find the things that you would want to know as a homeowner is next to impossible. I mean, you literally are going to be on there 10 minutes looking, because they don't organize it well, and they don't think through what all, from a real estate perspective, you would want to know. So I think that's great advice. All right. Thank you so much for coming on and sharing your hard-won wisdom. We really appreciate it.
Of course. Thank you so much for having me.
All right. I hope to see you at eXpCON.
Of course.
Tony, my friend, back to you.
My goodness. Thank you so much. Value. I keep trying to recruit Mr. Randy to get like those buttons that I can get, and I can like push bombs, like, and make sound effects every time someone says something that's just inspiring. But he probably didn't do that because he knows I'd be pushing it all the time. Every time you bring one of our awesome guests on, it would just be like sound effect. It would be distracting, to say the least. So thank you so much for dropping all those bombs, Bryon. And
I was
so
all
we'll take
Elicia.
It was both. Absolutely. Well, she's gone, but yes, thank you, Alicia.
All right. In that case, I'll take
Bryon.
credit for everything you said. Right.
There it is.
Thank you, man. Happy Friday, y'all.
Awesome. Happy Friday. So that's it, y'all. That is the show for today. But what I want to make sure that you do, again, remember that we don't do this for our own good health. We are putting on so much content. We have learned today about GCI, which is 24 hours a day, 7 days a week content, information that you can take action on and apply, and really push that into your real estate business to really help yourself grow. So make sure that you go on KGCI, as we talked about. You've got drop the website there. You can click on that link and go to KGCI, or on whatever your favorite podcast channel is, whether that's going to be Apple or Spotify or whatever, right? So do your thing there. Now, as far as our big agent meeting, we do this for you. So we want to hear from you. We need your feedback, right? We exist on your feedback. Part of the reason why we had someone today come and talk about farming is because you all let us know that you want to hear about geographic farming. So guess what we did? We found an expert in geographic farming. If you let us know you want to hear stuff, we will go out and find those experts for you. A lot of the stuff is crowd sort of engagement, right? So when they let us know what you're looking for, we will go out and find those experts. Just scan that QR code that he had up there, and then make sure that there's a link down there too that you can click on. Give us your feedback. Let us know it was a 10 out of 10, and it'd be 20 out of 10 if you did this, right? So we want to hear those types of things. We will close this out, but don't log off just yet, because we have our iConversations coming up next. Right after this, we will have our iConversations, and we're hearing from the brightest in the industry, coming, kicking it, opening up the doors of their business. They're opening up their blueprints. They're opening up their plans, everything that they've got going, lifting the hood, whatever analogy you want to know or use. We're able to sort of look into their businesses and see what the top of the top, what the best of the best are doing. It's in our iConversations. Who do we got coming up? I think we have there we go. So we have our iConversations. We have 5 panelists today that, again, are going to open up their businesses to us and let us know what they're doing, what's working right now. This isn't past tense. This isn't back when I was doing sales or when Bryon was doing sales or when other people. We're hearing the right now, what's working right now from the best of the best, which is our icons, which means that they're crushing it. So that's it. Make sure you check in for that. That's all I got. And I look forward to seeing each and every one of you all at eXpCON. I'm so excited. I'll be there. I'm actually hosting a couple of sessions. So I'll be at the military luncheon. So I'll be there. And I will also be speaking at the we're a script battle, right? We're doing a script battle. So a lot of times, if you want to learn how to overcome objections, it's on the sort of attraction track. So if you want to know how to handle objections to people joining EXP, what are some good overcomes for that? I'll be hosting that, and we have some of the best of the best of the best that are going to be up there on that panel, giving you great ammunition for handling those tough conversations. So we'll see you there. In the meantime, have an incredible weekend and a great week. Take care, y'all.